Hey crafty friends, it's Melinda with mypapercrafting.com, and today I'm going to share with you how I created this card, but more specifically I'm going to go over how I used this really sweet little digital image called Little Nugget. It's from the Little Nugget set by rgavenue.com, and I'm going to just kind of go over how I used Photoshop elements to kind of layer these different images together and how I kind of prepare the different digital downloads from his studio that I get and how I like to work with them. So it's a little bit longer video than I normally do, but if you just grab your favorite cuppa and sit back and then watch, maybe you might learn a tip or trick or two. And again, I'm using Photoshop elements, but there's many ways to do what I'm about to show you with different programs. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump right in. And oh, by the way, if you're interested in the SVG file for the little shaped card frame, as well as the decorative die cut, you can find that in the info section of the video below. But let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so here you see that I have the Little Nugget file from RG Studio open. I've gone ahead and opened it in my Adobe Photoshop Elements. This is version 14. So this is the JPEG version that you get with your digital download file. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and crop it to get rid of the logo. So we'll come over here to our left menu bar, and right here is the rectangle marquee tool. So you're going to go ahead and left click that to select it, and you can see down here that you have options for this tool. So the main thing here is that you want it to be a rectangular shape. So now I'm going to left click and hold and then drag a rectangle around one of the images. So this first image is the baby with a rattle. And I let go of the left mouse button and it created this rectangle. Well, this is like a square, but a marquee tool. And you see it's a marquee because it's got the little, some people used to call it the marching ants. But anyway, so that lets you know that that's the portion of the image that's selected. So now I'm just going to go ahead and click Control and J on my keyboard. That's for a Windows, and for a Mac it would be Command and J. And what that did was that created a layer of just that image. And over here is your layer menu. And as we process this file the way I like to process them, you will see that this will create layers. And so I like to look at layers as this base image is basically like the cover of the book, and then each layer above it is like a page in the book. And so this little image here in the layer menu is an eyeball, and that's just to let you know what layers are visible. You can click it and you can see that that closed that layer. It didn't delete it, it just closed it so that you can take a look at your different layers. So when I click it again, now it's visible. So now what we're going to do is we're going to continue to do what I just did, because I like to create layers for each one of his images, or sets I should say. I like to create a separate layer for each image. That way, as I am utilizing them down the road in any way I can or want to, I have them already prepared as a clear, transparent, singular image so that I can pull them, mix and match them, manipulate them, layer them, and do all kinds of things with them. But that's kind of what I like to do. So now we got to go back to our base image, because you always have to be mindful what layer you're working on. And so the blue here lets you know what layer is selected. So this is my background layer. So again, we see over here in the left menu bar that our marquee tool is still the selected tool. So now I'm going to go on to the next image, and again I'm going to left click and hold as I drag a box around the image. And then I'll let go of that mouse button, and it created again that marquee around there, the image. So now I'm going to again hit Control and J, and that's going to create a new layer. And I can close off the background layer so you can see the two layers that are created. And each time you create a layer, it's going to create an automatic name of layer 1, layer 2, so on and so forth. So what we want to do is while we are on that layer, we want to rename it. So you can either double click and write on that layer name, and it will open up the layer name box so that you can rename it. And so this one I will rename Baby with, and it's just a W, and then bottle. And that way, and then I hit enter. And that way I know that that's the layer that I'm working with, or that's the layer that's on here. The other way to change it would be to right click the name, and then you have this menu come up, and there's different things you can do with that. And so right there is the rename layer. And so that lets you know another way of naming your layer. So this layer here was the baby with the rattle. Okay, and so now we're going to go ahead and click on our background image and make it visible again. And so the object, or what I like to do, is go ahead and create, again, individual layers for every single image. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick, and you can watch me. Okay, so as you can see now, all of my images are on separate layers. And as you see, it created layer 13, layer 12, so on and so forth. So now I can figure out which layer that is and then quickly rename it. Okay, and so I won't finish that. But anyway, that's how I like to process the file to my liking so that I can use it later on. Now, I have done that with a file already, and let me go ahead and show you. This is what I've done here with the finished file. Now, what I like to do is take the white box that's around each image off so that each separate layer or each separate image is a clear background image. And this is great for when I'm creating a card base and I want to layer images on top of each other, much like you would masking your stamped images. But this is much simpler, faster, and easier because you've taken out the white box around there. And to do that, you would simply go ahead and click on this right here, which is your selection tool. And down here with your selection tool, you're going to see this little icon down here, which is called the magic wand tool. And it's got like a little star with some sparklies. So you're going to select that to make that your active tool. And then you're just going to go to one of your images, like let's go to the baby with the rattle. And now you can see there's a white box around. So what you're going to do is you're going to select anywhere or click anywhere on that white box, and you'll see a selection or a marquee selection come up around the image. And let me zoom in just a bit so you can see what I'm talking about. And you can see that it's got the white, but then you can also see that it's around the image. So to take that box out, all you do is have that selected and then just hit delete on your keyboard. And you can see it just took care of that white image around there. That was a Windows again. I'm working in Windows, but if you have a Mac, again, it should work with just hitting your delete. Now, in order to get rid of that marquee, I use the quick key combination of the Control and D, and that gets rid of the marquee. It would be Command D for a Mac. And again, we're still on the baby with rattle image or layer, and we still have our marquee tool. Now, in here you'll see that there's a portion of the white background that didn't get deleted, and that's because if you look closely at the image, the two black lines touch. So it only takes out the white for, any area that is open. So now we're just going to click this and again just hit delete, and then Control D to get rid of the marquee tool or the marquee, and there you have it. Now you have a clear image, and I like to do this again so that as I work with the images later on, I can quickly pull them in and layer them to my liking. And once I've done this with this image, or with his whole set, if you will, like I did over here on this one, I will save it, and I will save it as a PSD file, again with each image in its own layer, so that later on down the road, if I want to come back and use it, I have them all ready and prepared. And what I mean by prepared, again, is that they're each on a layer and they each have the white around them taken off. And it makes it real easy for you to then begin layering them. And so let's just do something really quick here. And we're going to create another blank file. And so this one I'm going to make 4 by 5.25. I'm going to have the resolution 300, which is good for printing, and the RGB mode is going to be my color mode. And then I like to work in transparent backgrounds. Some people like white and some people pick a color. I like transparent because then it just shows me exactly where everything is, but it's just a preferential thing. So I'm going to click OK, and here's my new mat. Now, when I have prepared my file or my set like this, now I can simply drag and drop images onto my new mat. So for that, I'm going to select the Move tool up here, and you see my pointer turn to a little arrow with the cross hairs, or the cross, I forget what that icon's called, but anyway, you get it. So now I can take any of these images and drag them. So now I'm going to click this and left mouse click and hold my left mouse button, and I'm going to bring it up to this layer, and then I'm going to bring it down and I'm going to drop it into this layer. Oops, sorry, I let it go too soon. And there you go. There's our little guy, and he's in that new layer. So now I want to select maybe the blocks and maybe the pacifier, and you can do multiple things at the same time. So what I did to select both of those is I left clicked and selected the blocks, and now I'm holding down my shift key or my control key, and then now I'm going to left click the rattle. So I held down my shift key and left clicked the rattle, and that caused me to be able to select both of those layers, and you can see them here on the side. Rattle and block are both selected. Now I can just simply left click, hold, and then drag down into this layer these two images as well. And now you can see what I'm talking about here, that they layer on top of each other, and you don't see any white outlines because it's as if they've been cut out pieces. And so then to get them to lay the way I want, you can always take a look at what's on top, and the baby with the bottle is the bottom layer, the blocks, and then the rattle. And you can see that if you laid them on top of each other. That's how the program works. It just literally lays the layers on top of each other. So if I wanted to change and put the block behind the baby, I would just simply select the blocks, left click and hold my left mouse button and drag it down below my baby layer. And now you see the blocks are behind the baby. And let's just say I wanted the rattle to be behind the baby as well. Again, I'm going to left click and hold the layer and then drag it down underneath the baby. And you can see here that now it's behind the baby as well. And now I can manipulate these by rotating them, skewing them. Of course, that's for another time, but this is how you can basically lay it all out so that if you want to design your whole layout of your card, then you can do that and then print it off in one image. And of course, with your digitals, you also have the ability to resize your images, unlike the stamps. So we can make this little baby bigger and resize it. And we can resize it all the way to make it nice and big, to take up a big majority of the mat if you're so inclined, if that's what you want to do. And that's again one of the beauties of the digital images that you can use versus the stamps. But not to take away from the stamps, because there's things you can do with the stamps that are much easier and more effective than the digitals. So there's pros and cons to everyone, and that's what makes it so great when you work with RG's products, because he offers both the physical stamp for doing the wonderful things that you can do with it, as well as the digital download so that you can also manipulate those. Now, this particular set happens to be a digital only exclusive, and he has some of those in his shop that are digital only, but the vast majority are a digital and a physical stamp set. So this again is the Little Nugget digital only download set. So if you are interested in this, you head over to rgavenue.com and you will see this cute little set under the new release, and you can pick it up and go to town. But I'll finish this up and then I will show my finished card. Okay, so here are the elements of my card, and here's my finished image. I colored it in and then cut it out. And then here's the sentiment. So I'm just going to go ahead and assemble this really quickly. Okay, so here's my finished card, and as you can see, I put this sweet little baby on the top, and then I just added the layers and just pop dotted a few of the layers to give it some dimension, and then just sprinkled a little sparkle to give it just a little extra touch. And you can open it up and write your sentiment in there. So cute. Again, you can visit rgavenue.com to pick up the digital and take a look at all the other stuff he has as well. He's got a growing line of product from the cardstock, which is, this is all his cardstock. That's powdered sugar, and this is sweet banana, and I believe this is called sweet pink. Yep, sweet pink. And then this is called sour watermelon. Those are the colors of the cardstock, and it's a really good heavyweight cardstock. So again, you want to visit rgavenue.com, and if you're interested in the SVG file that I created, which is basically just the card base and the little mats, the little decorative mats, I will have a link in the info section of the video below where you can pick that up. And if you like the video, please take a moment to hit the like button and to subscribe. I sure would appreciate it. But again, the most important thing is that you visit rgavenue.com and check out all of his amazing digitals as well as his stamps. And until the next time, you have a wonderfully crafty day.